Welcome to China Tech Talk, a weekly discussion of technology and startups here in China. I'm John Artman, editor-in-chief of TechNode, and this week I'm not joined by Matthew Brennan, co-founder of China Channel. Matthew is very, very busy getting set up with his chat conference that's coming up on September 21st and 22nd. So here I am. It's just me in the hot seat today. But this week we're talking with Patrick Dai, who is the CEO and co-founder of Qtum. And Qtum is it's an institution. It's a foundation, but it's also a blockchain platform. And so this week we're talking a little bit about ICOs and initial coin offerings, kind of what they are. Why would a company or an organization choose to do an ICO? What are some of the applications? What's the difference between an ICO for a public blockchain, and what's the difference between that and an enterprise blockchain? And then we're also going to be talking about the recent ban on initial coin offerings here in China. It's a super interesting conversation. I think that I learned a lot, especially about why the Chinese government would want to ban this, but then also it's how it's not really 100% ban, but at the same time, it could actually be some time before ICOs or before the regulations are loosened up here in China. So it's a really interesting conversation. I hope you enjoy it. And with that, we give you Patrick Dai, CEO and co-founder of Qtum. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I would like to accept the interview and do some podcast on the current ICO situation in China. Yeah.
So Patrick, what's your story? Tell us about you, what you've been doing, and how you got involved in blockchain.
So yeah, for myself, I started the career since 2012 when I was still in my university when I prepared the PhD degree. Since 2012 in China, I joined the blockchain. At that time, we do not have the words like blockchain. We only have the word like Bitcoin. So I joined the Bitcoin industry in 2012. And at the same time, I was preparing my PhD degree at the CAS, one of the best technology university in China. And then in 2015, I quit. I dropped off from the PhD degree, and I joined like Alibaba for almost 6 months. And then I left Alibaba and I started into the blockchain again. Yeah. So I have been in this area for 5 years since 2012. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's interesting. And so looking at Qtum. So what is Qtum, and how is it different from other blockchain companies or other institutions?
Yeah. So the blockchain is a new trend of the internet. Every country, they are trying to do something in the blockchain area. The reason, for Qtum, it's very different from Bitcoin. It's different from the Ethereum. Our initial idea is we wanted to build a business-oriented blockchain platform for all the other small company and the individual developers in the future. So like a Bitcoin, you need the proof of work to do the mining stuff, same as Ethereum. So for Qtum, we are using a new consensus, it's a proof of stake. And for the Qtum, we are supporting like a more flexible virtual machine in the future. So you can write a smart contract in more like in C language or C++ language or in Java language. You can write a smart contract in the mainstream programming language. Yeah. So that's like Qtum is bringing some new innovations to the whole blockchain industry. Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. And so, just very briefly for our audience who aren't necessarily familiar with blockchain or kind of how some of it works. So first, what is the difference between proof of work and proof of stake?
Yeah. So proof of work is originally come from Satoshi Nakamoto, like the founder of Bitcoin. Yeah. The initial idea of proof of work, because Satoshi wanted to make Bitcoin be a very decentralized network. So he want to involve every participator. You can become a validator of all the transactions for other people. So that's the reason Satoshi he proposed like the proof of work in the Bitcoin network. At the beginning, it's a very cool idea because as long as you have a computer, you have the CPU, you can calculate the Bitcoin network, and you can become a validator, and you can get the Bitcoin reward as a mining reward. But then something changed when the ASIC miner and all the big miner from China. So basically, they control the Bitcoin network. So the original idea from Satoshi Nakamoto is not working anymore because today the Bitcoin network kind of become like a very centralized network right now because all the mining power is controlled by few company. Yeah. So then the people in the community, they wanted to figure out a new way to make the network decentralized again. So the proof of stake is one of the alternative, like to become a new consensus model for all the blockchain network in the future. And the proof of stake is more user friendly too. So no matter how many coin or how many stake coin you have in your computer, you have the possibility to get the reward and help to validate the network. So that's the main difference. Yeah, like for the proof of work, you need some special designed ASIC miner to maintain the network. But for the proof of stake, okay, all you need is open your computer. You are the full node of the blockchain network. That's that's a very cool idea, and that's also the initial idea what Satoshi Nakamoto he wanted to do. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So also you mentioned how Qtum uses more mainstream programming languages. So what types of programming languages are other blockchain applications or coins using right now?
I mentioned the more mainstream programming language. That's mainly for the smart contract. Because, okay, smart contract is a very big use case. I think it's most promising area in the blockchain industry because you can automatically process all the business transactions in the real world, like the bank transaction or all the Internet of Things transaction. So you can do a lot of stuff with the smart contract. But today, the first smart contract virtual machine came from the Ethereum virtual machine. So we call it the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine. And the Ethereum virtual machine is using some very special designed programming language. The name is Solidity. So Solidity is similar like a JavaScript, like they only support Solidity. But in computer science industry, we have many programming languages like C language, C++ language. They are more like well-developed language when you compare with Solidity language. So that's a reason why we wanted to design a new virtual machine. The name is x86 virtual machine. It's a classic Intel architecture. So we are developing the x86 virtual machine to make Qtum like be more widely used by the industry use case, by all the consumers, by all the companies, because they know C language, they know C++, they know Java, they know Rust, they know Ruby, so they know all the mainstream language very well. So that's a reason why we wanted to extend the smart contract to a more mainstream language in the future. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So yeah, that's a bit of background. And before we talk about the China government policy towards ICOs, first tell us what exactly is an ICO. How do you define it?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, in the whole industry, no one give any definition. I mean, clear definition on what's a ICO. Yeah. So the ICO have no definition today. But from my own understanding, the ICO is a new way. It's like based on the blockchain network, and it's a new way to do the crowdfunding. Yeah, new way to raise the money. Yeah, that's the ICO. They call it the initial coin offering or initial crypto token offering. So it's different from the IPO because in the ICO you are just offering your coin or the token that represent the future interest or the future reward of your blockchain network. Yeah. So, but the ICO is become like more and more widely used by many areas right now. Like initially, the ICO come from Mastercoin, a very old project in the Bitcoin industry since 2013. So at that time, there is like two developers. They do not have money, but they wanted to develop some new protocol for Bitcoin network. So because it's open source, so no venture capital wanted to invest because it's open source. For the venture capitalists, they cannot get the money back. So then that's the initial idea why they have the ICO. At the beginning, all the ICO is more like kind of a donation to the programmers or to the open source software. But later something changed, like people started to list the ICO coins in the second market. I mean, in the trading platform, in the exchange. Then people can see, oh, if I invest in ICO, I can make money. So then something changed. The ICO become like a totally financial market right now. It's not, they changed the initial idea or the initial purpose of the ICO. The initial purpose of the ICO is to reward the open source, to donate or to crowdfunding the open source software in blockchain industry and help on the technology innovation. That's the initial idea. But today, the ICO already changed to a financial market like the stock market right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, so there's the speculation side, but then as you said, I mean, ICOs began as a way to fund open source projects, but even then, so there's the speculation part, but then also it looks like some companies that are issuing ICOs, it seems that they're not open source either.
Yeah. At the beginning, I mean, the speculation side is not that strong or not the main features of the ICO. But today, the speculation becomes the main reason why people want to do the ICO right now. So something changed in the ICO industry. Yeah, but for the ICO, it's just a way to do the crowdfunding. It's just a very small use case of the smart contract or a very small use case of the blockchain features. Like you can send the money across the border, you can send the money like seamlessly to all the people as long as you have the internet. So that's because earlier you cannot do this. Like if I wanted to invest into a company in US, I cannot invest because I have so many regulations. Like at first I need maybe have dollars in US and then I can invest. And then like they have a very high barrier for maybe only angel investor you can invest. Yeah. So so the ICO like kind of lower the barrier for all the people you can participate to support some startup, some very promising startup from the very beginning. Like you got the chance like to fund Google or to support Google since Google started at the first day or the first month. Yeah, that's something really like a revolutionary in the blockchain industry, and when you compare to the traditional venture capital style. Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, so looking at, so you were kind of talking a little bit about how companies that can't get funding otherwise, they want to issue these ICOs. So either venture capital or things like that. I mean, so and you also said that the ICO market's changing and it's very much more about speculation these days. So I mean, are in your opinion, are some of the companies who are issuing these ICOs, are they doing it for fundraising or are they doing it because of speculation?
I think they do this maybe for two reasons. Yeah, the first reason is crowdfunding, and the second reason is speculation. Yeah, maybe some companies they are doing this for another reason. Because recently there is a pretty popular software, the instant message software. I don't know if the audience know the software. The name is Kik. Yeah, K-I-K. Yeah, the Kik software. Yeah, it's pretty popular. It's like WhatsApp. It's like Telegram. So this software company they made an ICO like 2 weeks ago. and they raised like $50 million in few days. Yeah. So people were asking them like, oh, you are already a very successful software company, and you are one of the most popular like instant message software. Then why are you still want to do the ICO? Yeah. So their answer is like, okay, for the ICO, they told the newspaper like the ICO is the only way they can defeat the Facebook. The ICO is the only way they can evolve deeply with the community, with the users. Yeah. So that's another reason why the company they want to do the ICO right now. Because when you do the ICO, that's like you have like every token holder or every coin holder is also your investor. So they are your consumer, they are also your shareholder. So that's some kind of new business rules you never seen before in the past 20 years. Like, yeah, that's something like why they do the ICO. Like even if the kick they are doing the ICO, like from the news I read, they have like maybe more than 20,000 people participate in the ICO. That basically means they have more than 20,000 shareholder. Yeah.
But there is a difference between holding a share and holding a coin, right? I mean, if you hold a share, that means that you have to a greater or lesser degree, you have a say in the direction of the company, and if the company issues dividends, you can get those dividends. But what about the coin? I mean, like you don't if you own a coin, you don't have any say in the direction of a company, right?
Yeah. If you have the coin, you cannot like vote for the company. You cannot get the dividends from the shares too. Yeah, you just hold the coin. So that's kind of something like an unclear area. I mean, not a gray area. It's some like unregulated area. Like what's the main purpose of the coin? Yeah. So right now, okay. I believe like most of the participator. Like some of them like because they participated because they are curious, like they wanted to learn what's happening in the ICO industry. Some of them like also they participated in the ICO because they are the speculator. Yeah, they wanted to make some money from the ICO when the coin been traded in somewhere. Yeah. So, but it's also some very good economy phenomena like no one bring out before. Like it's some totally new phenomena happened in the crypto economy area. We call it a blockchain economy. Yeah. So the blockchain economy is very different from the traditional economy and how it's work. Yeah. So that's something we need to do more research in this area. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So, so why did you guys choose to do an ICO? I was looking at your market cap just now, and it looks like you guys are 13th, just after Neo at the time of this recording. So total market cap is about 854 million USD. So yeah, why did you guys choose to do an ICO?
Yeah. So yeah, that's I think that's related to our project itself. Yeah. So the Qtum project, we want to make Qtum be a totally like an open source project. It's accessible to everyone in the world. Like all the company and all the developers, you can use Qtum as a free. Without paying anything, you can use it free. Yeah. So then we are thinking like we are talking to the venture capitals. The venture capital they say, oh, I wanted to invest it to you, but the condition is like you need to change it to a private company. Yeah. But it's not our dream. Our dream is our idea is we want to make some open source project. Then the venture capital say, oh, we cannot invest into open source project because you do not have any business model. Yeah, how do you charge the fees? Yeah, so then we say, okay, we will just go to the ICO. Yeah, we will go to the ICO. We will get the money from the community, and then we are working for the community to deliver the software. Yeah, so that's the reason why we do the ICO. So first reason it's to get the money to fund the software. The second reason is like we want to involve the community because we know blockchain is about the community driven project. Yeah, so we want to involve with the community. So if you have the ICO, that means you are distributing the token to the community members. When they are holding your token, they are contributed to your development work. They are contributed help you to do the marketing stuff. They are contributed to improve your products. Yeah. So you are deeply like combined with the community members over the world. Yeah. So that's a second reason we want to involve the community. Yeah, because we know the community will win the blockchain finally in the future. Yeah. So that's two reasons why we do the ICO. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I'm curious, and so, for you guys, and so, you want to involve the community with the ICO, but how does that play out with speculation and things like that? Like, how do you know that there is an actual community around your coins versus the people who are just trading it?
Yeah, just purely like a speculator. Yeah. Yeah, I think from the feedback we received from the community and from some partners, like for Qtum today, because we hosted a few hackathons in Moscow, in Russia, and in Nashville, in US, and also some hackathons in South Korea, in Seoul. So from the feedback we got, we have a lot of projects come from the community. Like even today, we have 17 projects grew up from the community. They are building the ecosystem together with the Qtum team. They are building the wallet service. They are building the development environment tools. They are building some decentralized applications in many areas, like in energy area, IoT, healthcare, supply chain, entertainment, and online streaming. So there is a lot of projects come from the community, they are building around the Qtum ecosystem. So that means it's started to work. Yeah. Also, we got some we got some accurate numbers of the community member involved. In China, I think we have maybe we have more than 50,000 people in our different groups, or in the forum, or the WeChat group, the Slack channel, and in South Korea, I think we have maybe 3,000 people. In North America, in Canada, I think we have a few thousand people. South Korea, Russia, and France, European. We have a lot of channels. So a lot of people, they have the interest in the community members, and also from the feedback of the exchange, and also our observation. Even today, I think we have about 1 million Qtum coin holder. Yeah, so that's some very big community in the world, in different countries. Yeah, even when we started the ICO, we have 20 countries people, more than 20 countries people participate in our ICO. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm curious. I mean, so looking at blockchain applications in general, so when we hear about blockchain these days, there's always some type of coin or some type of token. But do blockchain applications, do they need coins? Do they have to be token based to still be a blockchain application?
I think it's not necessary to have tokens, but for public blockchain, the blockchain like a Bitcoin, like a Qtum, Ethereum, or Monero, or some Litecoin, the token or the coin is the only way you can encourage people to join the network, and also the coin is the only way to maintain the consensus of the public blockchain, and the coin is also as a barrier for the public resource. Blockchain is a public platform. Everyone can join the platform and can use the platform. Like for Qtum, the token have two purposes. Yeah, the first purpose it's some resource. When you are running some decentralized application on Qtum, you need to consume the gas. So the Qtum is more like the oil or the gas when you are running the decentralized application. Why you need to pay the gas? Because you are using some other people's computer to offer you the service. Yeah, so you need to pay. It's I'm renting a virtual machine or the cloud service from the Amazon, and then I need to pay the RMB or pay the USD dollar. So in blockchain, you are renting some other people's resource, like the computing resource, the storage, the network, then you need to pay the fees. But how do you pay the fees? Okay, then you need to pay with your token. Yeah. So for public blockchain, usually you need to have the token to serve as the gas or the transaction fee in your network. But for the permission blockchain, or like we call it the enterprise blockchain, usually you do not need to have to use the token or the coin in your ecosystem or in your network. Yeah.
That's super interesting, because I think that's a really interesting distinction to make as well. I've talked with a few other entrepreneurs and a few other larger companies that are implementing blockchain, and I think that one of the reasons that I've been paying attention to blockchain recently is because of the applications. And so it's really cool to hear you talk about how there is that difference between the public blockchain, which is maybe more transaction based, versus an enterprise blockchain, which is more about information transfer or keeping track of where things are going, what information was given to whom, or where inventory is, and things like that. Like Walmart, for example, they're starting to implement blockchain-based inventory management and tracking. Dianrong, they're using blockchain for supply chain finance, to make sure that that contracts and things like that people are who they say they are, and they're not doing silly things with some of the supply chain financing. And so it's really kind of interesting to hear that, because so what that means really is that there are applications outside of many of the ICOs that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I think right now there is a lot of applications are growing from the blockchain network. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, so so that's a whole lot of background, and I think that this is one of those topics where I don't feel comfortable jumping right into it until we give our listeners some background, because this is a topic that not enough people know about, but also I think at the end of the day, blockchain itself isn't all that complicated. I think maybe perhaps some of the technical aspects of it can be complicated, but as a concept, it's really not that difficult to understand, from my experience at least. So looking at the Chinese government and their relationship with ICOs. So from your perspective, I mean, why did they decide to stop ICOs? Why did they decide to come down so hard on initial coin offerings in China?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a very good topic today. Like a lot of journalists or a lot of news in China, they are talking. The Chinese government are trying to ban the ICO. We're trying to stop all the ICO in China. Yeah. We were talking to the regulators in China earlier. So we participate a lot of regulation meetings in China on the ICO, on cryptocurrency, on the exchange platform. I think the reason why China wanted to stop the ICO right now is because just like I said before, like the ICO, it's kind of changed their initial purpose. Yeah, the initial idea of ICO kind of changed totally to a free like a financial market right now. Yeah, so I think the Chinese government, they are worrying about right now. Earlier, okay, a lot of ICO projects, they are pretty good. They are grew up from the blockchain industry, and they have a very high technical white paper, and they are very experienced team in blockchain area. But last 3 months in China, we are seeing more and more projects like come from the traditional industry, like they know nothing about the blockchain. So I was talking to them like, okay, then why you want to do the ICO? Then all the project founders, they just told me like, oh, we want to raise the money. Yeah, so that's a reason I think make the government angry. Like, okay, it's more like, okay, because earlier if you want to raise money in China, you have a lot of regulations like to do the crowdfunding, or even do the crowdfunding like to give out your shares. There's a lot of regulations in China. But today, last 3 months, there's more and more projects. They cannot raise money from the venture capital, and then they found like, oh, the ICO is a wild west. Okay, if I have a white paper, no matter it's good or not, I can raise money easily. Yeah. So that's kind of something the government do not want to see happen in China. So I think that's a reason why the government wanted to stop the ICO right now, to calm down the whole industry in China, and to figure out what's happening, and to prevent more scammers join the industry in the future. Yeah, because earlier there is few scams happening in China. They have some white paper, they raised a lot of money, and then they run away or they did nothing with the money. Yeah, and no transparency, no information, no public information. So that's the reason I think why the government they stopped the ICO last week. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the question. So kind of from what you're describing, this is not a all-out ban on ICOs. The government's not saying that they're going to not allow any more ICOs. What they're saying is that they want to stop the scams, and then later on, once they figure this out, then they will loosen up again. Is that right?
It depends on how the regulation affect the industry. I mean, it depends on it depends on how the industry to do some self discipline. Yeah, to do some self organization to make the industry better. Maybe the government will change the regulation rules later. But right now, okay, from the regulation said clearly it's a stop the ICO, but not ban the ICO. Yeah, it's a stop. Yeah, so maybe I don't know in the future if the government will make it available or make the ICO open again in China, or they will stop it forever. I have no clue on this the decision from the government. Yeah, but from my own understanding, right now it may stop maybe for a few months, maybe for half a year, or maybe even 1 year. So it depends on what's happened next. Yeah.
Right. And also, to be clear, I mean, if this is only stopping, RMB-based transactions, right? I mean, for example, if someone is based in China and they want to, participate in an ICO for a coin for a company that's based in the States, and they already have Bitcoin or they already have Ethereum in their own crypto wallet, then they can still participate in that ICO. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. As long as you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, or you have Qtum, you can participate. You can still participate in the ICO, hosted in other countries. Yeah, because the blockchain network is global. Yeah, you cannot really stop the ICO. Yeah, I think the government they just the reason for stop the ICO. I think people have the misunderstanding. They just I think the original description in Chinese is okay. They stop all the ICO with RMB connections. You cannot use RMB to participate in the ICO. Yeah, and you cannot use some also they stopped about 61 or 62 ICO platform in China. Yeah, because in China, last 2 months, it's kind of crazy. A new platform every day. We have a new platform. We have a new ICO platform every day, almost. So that's the government kind of feel all the people, no matter how much you know about the blockchain, you can participate in the ICO very easily through the ICO middleman or through the ICO platform. So that's a reason I think the government feel okay, it's kind of a bubble, it's kind of crazy right now. Okay, we need to calm down the industry in China for a while. Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So basically there were scams, there were people in China taking advantage of the ICO, and they had no intention of actually building a blockchain platform. Rather, they wanted to do the ICO so they could just raise a bunch of money and then run away.
Yeah, maybe very few people run away, but from the technical point of view, a lot of ICO project is meaningless. Yeah. Because I can give you some examples. Maybe there is a coffee store. Yeah, there's a coffee store or maybe some moon cake. It's a October middle festival. Yeah, it's a moon cake festival. Maybe some moon cake company. Okay, they say, oh, I will just release a token they just release the token and they want to raise the money, and it's like a meaningless of the token. But then they listed the token in the trading platform. Then people pump the price, But you are a mooncake company. You have nothing to do with blockchain. Yeah. But they are still doing the ICO. Yeah. So if you think it think this, you will find like, okay, the people they started ICO not only their main purpose is to raise money, not to do something like for the blockchain industry. Personally, I think maybe like two kinds of project you need to do the ICO. Like one kind of project like the public blockchain platform, like Ethereum, like Qtum. You have to do the ICO to distribute the token. It's a public chain service, or even like Tezos. Yeah, it's one of the biggest ICO in US last few months. Yeah. Another kind of project like you can do the ICO. It's like it's some blockchain related like protocols or blockchain related products like the cross chain, like the side chain protocol, like some other Lightning Network or the state channel protocol in blockchain area. Then you can do the ICO. Yeah, I mean it's normal or it's naturally. Yeah, but if you are a coffee store or if you are a mooncake company, what's the meaning to do the ICO? I mean, yeah, you can do the ICO because the ICO is a new way to raise money. Yeah, but then, if you cannot do this in the traditional way, that means there's some regulation empty or the regulation problem in the traditional way. But then people they are doing the ICO just to escape the traditional regulation. They think, oh, ICO is the Wild West, I can raise money easily. So because in my old traditional rules, I cannot raise money. Yeah. So that's kind of make the government embarrassed. Like, okay, the government may think, oh, you cannot raise money with the current regulation. Then you figure out you go to the ICO and you raise money. Then the government may just feel, oh, you are not like trade the regulation with respectful, or you are just want to escape the regulation we have right now. Yeah, so I think that's another issues in China.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that part of the problem is also capital controls, right? I mean, like people were kind of using ICOs and Bitcoin to a certain degree as well as a way to get money out of the country, because the government is very strict about how much money can come in and how much RMB can actually leave, and so Bitcoin as an intermediary, and perhaps even these ICOs as an intermediary, not only can you make some money, but you can also you can have some of your cash or your money not all tied up inside of China. So the thing is, before the ban, it felt like it did feel like ICOs were getting a bit crazy. I mean, as the examples that you just gave, I think were good examples of companies that they really didn't need to at the very least, and in some cases, obviously they were trying to they were actually fraudulent. But so before the ban, it felt very frothy. There was just so much activity going on. There was so much hype. There was so much enthusiasm. And then once the ban was announced, the exchanges, the value of a lot of cryptocurrencies just dropped. Now they're beginning to regain some of their value. Things are kind of stabilizing a little bit. But I mean, so looking at the bigger picture, how is this ban affecting blockchain companies or cryptocurrency in general? I mean, do you think that we're kind of seeing the end of the first phase of blockchain development? To the last topic you mentioned, the people may participate in the ICO and get out the money from China. I think it's not really like that, or it's not really true, because from all the friends I know, they participate in the ICO. The main reason is for speculation. Yeah, it's not for get the money out of China, because today it's very hard. Even you use Bitcoin, you have a very strict KYC
on all the exchange platforms. So even you use Bitcoin, it's kind of very hard to get to do it to get rid of the capital control in China. It's very hard. Yeah. Okay. Back to the topic, the question you asked, how it will affect the whole industry. Or it will it mean the end of the first bubble or the end of the first phase of blockchain industry? Yeah. Personally, I think it will not affect. It will not bring very big effect to the whole industry. Yeah, because it's like the blockchain is a global project. Every blockchain project, no matter you want it or not, you are a global project. Yeah, because if it's a public blockchain project, everyone can access your network. Yeah. So, but I think that's the end of the first crazy ICO bubble. Yeah. From the industry in China, from some very experienced industry members in China, we all wanted to do the government to do something in China to kind of calm down or regulate the ICO even before the government made the announcement. Yeah. It's more like, okay, some experienced members in the industry, they proposed to the government you should do some warning, you should do some regulation to kill the bubble or to kill the crazies the phenomena happening in China. So I think the government they listen to the voice, or they listen to the appeal, or they listen to people's voice. So that's the reason why we have the regulation come out. Yeah. So it's the end of the first phase of the ICO bubble, maybe in the next few months. But from my understanding, the ICO itself is just a way to do the crowdfunding. You can regulate it, or you can think it's illegal. It depends on each country's culture or each country's regulation. But the ICO itself is just a technology. It's just technically it's just a new method for you to raise money. Yeah, if you can regulate it, okay, everything is legal, everything is regulated. You can maybe make the ICO market like the Nasdaq market in the future. It's possible. But if you think it's illegal, okay, it depends on each country's culture. You can do nothing with this. Yeah. So, but I think the warning in China right now, it's reasonable. Most of the experienced members in China, they think, okay, it's reasonable right now, and even it's necessary in China to do this kind of regulation right now. Yeah, but it's a little, it's go a little further. Usually you take some time to do the announcement. You take some time to do the final regulation. But the government in China, they are pretty fast. They had some meetings last month and they made the regulation last week. Yeah, it's pretty fast.
Yeah, it's really amazing sometimes how quickly China can move on these things, and I think that generally speaking, it's actually really fascinating to watch because. I think it's almost the opposite of some other, and in particular, Western countries where, like in China, what happens some of the times is that they will let an industry or a business model expand almost unchecked until they're like, oh, okay, we've been watching this, it's getting a bit too far. And then they'll just come in and they'll do what they did with the ICO and just be like, okay, this is enough. And then everything kind of stops. Whereas so the barrier to entry with these types of things is much, much lower. But then when the regulations do come in, they can come in pretty strong. Whereas in the West, it seems like it's almost the exact opposite, where the barrier to entry, because of so many existing regulations, because of so many compliance issues and litigiousness and things like that the barrier to entry is quite high, and then the regulation that actually addresses new business models is really slow. And even when it does, there's always a bit of leeway. There's always a bit of lead time where the U.S. Congress will implement a new law regulating this new thing, but it doesn't actually come into effect for another 5 years or something like that.
Yeah. In China, you can get the regulation rules in 1 month.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I guess kind of what you were saying before. before is that this is actually going to be a good thing for the blockchain industry.
I mean, it's not a good thing. It's a good thing to make the industry more healthier. Yeah, to make the industry like grow up healthier and more regulated. It's a good thing, but it's kind of some bad thing for the real project. I mean, it's not for long term. Okay, it's not the bad thing, but for short term, yeah, it brings some side effect to the project here, to the good project here, like the real project. It have some like influence for sure. Yeah, I think they have some influence for sure. Yeah.
So basically, it'll be more like a chilling effect, perhaps, where things will slow down for a little bit, but then once people get kind of used to it, then things will kind of pick back up again, and the real projects will actually. I mean, do you think the real projects will actually be
slow down some? Yeah, in China especially. Yeah, it's especially the project have the gene from China, like a Qtum. Okay, Qtum it's pretty global project, but China is one of the biggest market. So we put a lot of efforts in China earlier, but right now we are trying to rethinking like okay, maybe we should focus on some other countries first, maybe in Korea, North America, maybe Japan, European. Yeah. So the China is not our like first market right now. I mean, not the highest priority right now.
Okay. And do you think that might change? Once things kind of normalize, that you'll be looking back at China.
Yeah, I think if all the regulation is clear and everything is being shut down, I mean, we will like take China as the highest priority again, because earlier like China is the highest priority for us. Yeah.
That's super interesting. Well, cool. So, Patrick, I think that's about all the time that we have. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention? Anything else that you think that we should have talked about, but we didn't?
Yeah, I think I hope more and more people they can learn blockchain. It's not only about the technology; it's also about the idea and the new concept. Yeah, it's personally I believe like in 5 or 10 years, maybe 20 years. We will see some like 10 biggest company when you compare with Google or Facebook. I mean, we will see the platform like worth $1 trillion in the future, some blockchain platform in the future. So yeah, that's kind of a new wave of the revolution of the society and also the internet. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for the time too. Yeah, thank you very much for having the opportunity to communicate with the audience, like what's happening on blockchain and what's happening on the ICO.
Yeah, great. And so to all of our audience members out there, if you enjoyed this episode, we'd really appreciate it if you left a review on iTunes. If you're on Overcast, you can press that little star button, and if you're in Pocket Casts, you can tap on recommend. It's a great way to show your support.